we are gonna talk about some things. One of the major things I was going to do is I was going to convince Mike that AEW isn't trash.
So we'll do a brief rewind of this. I tried AEW. I really did.
I'm gonna go get a drink.
Yes. Okay. I'll monologue for a minute for everybody. Loving wrestling, being a huge fan of it, and obviously liking the off-brand. WWE is gonna be, up there and then around everybody else. So when people talk about the number one, the number twos, and stuff like that, it's not really something that I go into. It's more like Samsung versus Apple or Microsoft versus PlayStation. I just like content. I try and judge it based off of content, not based off of the name brand that's on the front of it. When it comes to AEW, though, the content that I have seen produced by them is nothing that makes me think that they are the rival to the WWE at this point. I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack from anybody who's watching this who is a fan. Anybody of my friends who likes AEW and watches it, great, keep watching it. We need more wrestling on a national network. Dear God, they need to get better. They must get better because they are going down the TNA path of just not separating themselves from the pack at all. Now, he showed me a couple 30 seconds of this brief clip.
We're not going to get to that first.
Okay.
All
right, so we're waiting for that.
Yeah, so I wanted to... This was the week up, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to give him a detailed report because Cornette rips all over TNA or AEW because of the silliness. I get that. I really do. And I stopped listening to Cornette because I started hating what I enjoy.
Unfortunately, and I will say this, I love Jim Cornette, as I said. Huge fan. Got the pleasure of interacting with Cornette a couple times. I love listening to his history, his stuff on wrestling. I love the wealth of knowledge and the passion that he absolutely has for it. I also have come to the point of I can't listen to Cornette before I watch anything. I have to listen to him after I watch wrestling at this point because, yes, he will skewer that point of view. And I when I talk to Joseph about wrestling, I want to be able to get that straight path of a conversation and not deviate into, well, Cornette said this.
Right. So the first thing that, when it comes to AEW, I don't know who Excalibur is. I don't care. He's a horrible announcer. We can get another time. They never took the time to explain who this Excalibur is. He's just some goober in a mask who's with Tony Schiavone and JR. Jim Ross is one of the best announcers in history. And Tony Schiavone, back in the day, was an amazing WCW announcer. Then Tony Schiavone and JR is a great pairing.
I'm really glad they brought Tony back.
It's not JR and King, but Tony is the straight-laced guy. Always has been.
They worked for WCW for a while together. They're great. Tony is, Schiavone was the voice of WCW. He's amazing when you go back and listen to that stuff. And him and anybody that you put with Bobby the Brain Heenan is going to get elevated because it's Bobby Heenan.
Right.
But Schiavone had that voice, that amazing voice, which is why for many, many years after he left wrestling, he was involved in the sports networks, and I believe he was the official voice for the Atlanta Braves for like the last 15 years or something.
Right.
Like an amazing voice for radio, voice for radio, face for radio, whatever that phrase is essentially. Yeah. Schiavone has that voice.
Right. So
Excalibur doesn't. Right. He's also wearing a fucking mask, and he's from Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, I think, and he wasn't that good to begin with when I watched his tapes.
So it started off. I'm going to give super quick. So it started off with a really good match with Wardlow, which is MJF's henchman, versus Jungle Boy Jake Perry. Who,
I like both of them.
And Jack Perry is Luke Perry's son. And he's an amazing wrestler, and it was a good match.
So while he's skimming his notes real quick, I do want to say this. AEW has great talent. They have great matches. Having a great match does not mean you have a great show.
Right. And
AEW has a lot of great stuff. They haven't produced a great show.
Yeah, about that. So, this was a good match. It was a decent match. And when to talk about Jungle Boy, no, actually it was about Wardlow. JR said some people I used to work for would really have loved this guy. You know, they throw their pop shots at WWE every now and then.
I mean, why wouldn't you? You know.
And then Wardlow wins with his F10, which is basically Brock Lesnar's F5, but he throws him up a little higher, so he spins twice before he lands.
Wardlow's. I like Wardlow. I'm pretty certain he stole his name from an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
right?
Which is hilarious to me. But again, great talent.
And then they had this amazing promo with Eddie Kingston.
I like Eddie Kingston.
He comes out here and he's got beef with Moxley, or what was his WWE name? Dean
Ambrose.
Dean Ambrose.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I call him Moxley too.
So Dean Ambrose.
Isn't his name like John Good or
something?
It
is John Good.
It's like John Goodbar.
So
Moxley is actually just comment real quick. I loved that Moxley got elevated. I thought he was amazing for WWE to go from where he started from, because I remember seeing him in what was it, XPW or whatever, in the bloodbath matches and all that stuff like that. My God, I loved him. And when he jumped ship and came to AEW, I was super on board. And then I was just like, oh great, he's just doing the bloodbath matches that nobody cared about anyway.
And then he became Mr. Hardcore. But anyway, so Eddie Kingston had this great promo, and he's like, because apparently there's some history, and he's got some beef. He goes, when you went to the land of sports entertainment and met your beautiful, lovely wife, I was still slaving to the grind, and you left me. You forgot all about me.
Okay.
It was good promo. And then.
All right.
And that's where we should stop the show. That's where we should stop, with the exception of one other match. Okay. So then the next match was Sonny Kiss versus Kenny Omega. Now, before I get anywhere, so Sonny Kiss, I actually am going to start, and please understand that this is not, please understand and hear what I say, because it's kind of delicate. It's fun to watch JR, because the way they've built this program, JR doesn't know if to call Sonny Kiss him or her, and he goes back and forth. The announcers have no idea.
Well, I think if they are clever, and I will say this, and again,
and they've called him it.
We're going to,
which is horrible.
I've watched a couple of it, and I've heard people talk about it and things like that, and kind of give JR shit and stuff. I want to say this, that I truly believe is part of the show. The part of the show is to point out the
differences,
those points of views, and those people who say that and have that mentality when it comes to these things. Okay, I truly believe that is part of the show. It's not JR gaffing or whatever, however it's said, of making a mistake of saying, oh well, him, no, her, oh, it, whatever's in the ring. That I do believe that is part of the show, that they're feeding him of say these things because they are said.
Okay, so about a month ago, Sonny Kiss had this. In AEW, if you have a match with Cody Rhodes, it is an amazing match. Cody Rhodes has only had one bad match, and he had a match.
Cody.
He had a match with Sonny Kiss, and they made Sonny Kiss look amazing.
Yeah. He
didn't win, but he made him look amazing, because back when Cody Rhodes had the TNT belt, he do open challenges, a la.
I saw several of these matches. Luckily, they did convert a good portion of the stuff over where I could watch it, and I did enjoy that part of it. The storyline, however, was bad, because it was always Cody's supposed to be the guy.
Right.
And then it's like, why is he having trouble beating up Sonny Kiss?
Right. So then Sonny Kiss wrestles Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's introduction listed every accolade he'd ever made, in every belt he'd ever worn. He had two women in bikinis dancing with brooms.
Because he's the cleaner, the sweeper, the janitor.
Okay, all
right.
I have to find the audio of the introduction and play it for you later. It was god-awful. And then the match lasted 24 seconds. The introduction was 3 times longer than the match. Kenny came in, hit him once, one-winged angel, Sonny Kiss was out.
So this is the guy who just had the amazing match that pushed Cody Rhodes, to his limit, essentially, on his open challenge thing. just got beat by Omega, who has a new heelish entrance doing. Clearly he's gone to the school of Jericho for having all the accolades and stuff. Real quick, I love Omega. When Omega blew up with the Okada match, obviously that was great for wrestling. Everybody, even people who weren't fans of wrestling, were talking about New Japan, talking about Omega. Damn, he has been exposed, in my opinion, of just not being, the shining feather in the hat that he was supposed to be.
Then they talked about Cody's match with Pockets, which went 20 minutes to the time limit. No, read that out loud.
Dad says Mike is Pockets.
So when he goes, Mike, that's who Mike is. He's Pockets. You're whatever.
And that's great. I mean, and so I apologize for retreading ground that Joseph and I had spoken to previously, which is why we're going to stop talking about wrestling at our work, and we're going to talk about it here only for the most part with you guys, unless something amazing happens that we want to talk about or flush out ideas for shows. Orange Cassidy, I love the athleticism that it takes. I like the character. I like the idea of the character. This laid-back, sloth style, as I said, the athletics that it takes to be able to do these moves with your hands in your pockets. That man has to have the strongest core of any person on the planet. Why? Why is he pushing this guy to their ultimate limits and having this thing with Jericho and this feud with the mimosa bath that's supposed to, and then the next week he's hiding in a trunk.
Right.
Like, that's what I mean, where they have great components in place. They have all of the gears. They don't have the, essentially they have the engine to make the car run. They don't have the frame. And that's, maybe it's Tony Khan because he's in charge. Maybe it's Omega and the Bucks and all this stuff and this all back and forth, and we want to do this as opposed to doing this and stuff, and we know how to do it better. I don't know. But when I talk about that with AEW, that's what I mean, is great stuff, but
poor execution.
Yeah, poor execution.
So, for those that are still watching, thanks. We totally appreciate it. This is going to be a 2-hour show for the first show. So if you want to stop, you can. We're going to continue on whether you're watching or not.
Come back and watch it later if you have a chance.
Some people
cars, take a bathroom break, whatever.
Some people are still just joining, so it's cool.
Yeah.
So then the next match I think was like Boom Boom Colt Cabana. That's what they call him. He wrestled Hangman Page. So there's this. So to explain to you what's going on, there's this bracket to the next number one contender, and you have Hangman Page on one side, and you have Omega on the other.
Okay.
So everyone knows that this is going to end up being Colt, or it's going to end up being Page versus Omega because they used to be a tag team. So it's like it's very telegraphed.
I mean, and you know what? They could swerve it right there at the end, and oh my God, he cost him the match or something, and maybe that'll be the feud later on. Whatever turns into that, that would be great.
And Hangman Page looked amazing.
I love Hangman Page. Oh my God, I love
his
him.
buckshot lariat is a thing of beauty.
Good. God, he is so good. He was like the unsung part of that crew for so long,
right?
And now it's like when he got his shot with them and elevated up. God, he's so good.
Then they did something with Darby Allin. This is a little out of order now. Darby Allin, who they basically
Darby's back.
Yeah, he's there.
Okay.
Well, he got thrown. So the last time Darby was seen in a wrestling ring, they put a bunch of tacks inside of a morgue bag, and then they threw the bag out of the ring.
Yep.
So now he's doing all these things where he's like throwing himself off things in the morgue bag, in the body bag, and he's like, "This is body bag off of a." It's like Jackass.
So I was like, Jackass.
So Jackass.
Okay.
I wrote Jackass. Right. And then Adam Cole's wife, Dr. Britt Baker, wrestled a nobody. And then Tony Schiavone talking about Dr. Britt Baker because they have some history. She's a dominating bitch, which Dad laughed his ass off.
Oh God.
And then
see, that's that funny, but isn't that the same stuff that Russo WCW was feeding them, where it's like, Tony, say this,
right?
Say something that's not out of character. Call him this. And
then, so then and I only talk about this women's match for one reason and one reason only, because the women's division in AEW is seriously lacking. Yes, so why does AEW suck? Yes, some 80 or 25-pound woman who, because she's married to Kenny Omega, got to be the champion, and it was it was horrible.
Now, but keep in mind, they, the regime, the WWE, they were stifling our creativity.
We're not even gonna. Miro wasn't on the show, so we're not gonna talk about that. But Chris Statlander, who was one of their shining stars, unfortunately is injured. So when they do get somebody, they injure them. So
what happened? Is it,
what?
What's his injury?
No, hers.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, her. Yeah, what's her injury?
She ACL.
Ooh. Okay, so she's out for 6 to 8 months.
So have you ever seen The Butcher and the Blade? No. Okay. So I'm gonna pull up a picture of The Butcher and the Blade for you.
Okay. While he's doing this, I'll pantomime my laptop. Right. I apologize. This is the dead air space that we.
So there's The Butcher and the Blade.
He has a fucking monocle.
Right. And,
okay.
And
cool.
he's got a gimp mask. And this is Allie, who used to be in TNA or in TNA.
Okay.
A very beautiful woman. She's married to him.
Okay.
And she was she went.
I'm not hating what I'm seeing, but you're going to tell me something, and I'm going to hate it.
So that's they're partnering with. They've been working with.
He took the mask off.
Oh yeah. He wrestles without the mask.
What?
But anyway,
okay.
so they're part of.
Thing off?
They're part of Kingston's group.
When did they show up?
Oh, from day one.
They've been there since day one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I apologize. I have not seen them out of everything somehow.
Yeah. So.
Because
I will on the. I wish I could show you. When I do the show, when I actually do some editing and play the show again, I will actually put pictures of things that I'm showing and talking about or short videos. So there will be a chance for you guys to see this, and I apologize. I don't have the technology yet to show you, but I will.
He's putting in a lot of work for this, guys. Like, so much work,
and most people know, and you can always Google Butcher and the Blade, and you'll see it's the first picture that pops up.
Yes.
Not that you want to do that while you're watching us, but
yes, watch us and do this later.
Yeah. And then the Bucks were the Bucks, and I'm not going to talk about the Bucks because
we'll save the Bucks because that's a whole show in of itself.
Yeah. And then Taz came out. Taz is an amazing speaker. You can't. And he's with Brian Cage, which is good for Brian Cage.
I like that. And just real quick, here's the thing about Taz. We all know who and what Taz is, okay?
And Brian Cage has the FTW belt.
Yeah, that's great. But here's the thing with Taz. They always interject him into the stuff as if he's going to do something. TNA did this. Even WWE did this at this point. The man is literally fused together and looks like a human waterbed at this point. Like
Cage or Taz?
Taz. He is as tall as he is wide at this point. And that's...
He was a suplex machine.
He was the suplex machine. Don't get me wrong. He was absolutely amazing for what he could do. But they need to stop plugging it as if they need to make him like Paul Ellering.
Because
they always act like Taz is going to beat them up, and he never does.
No, not in AEW. Taz is Paul Heyman.
Okay.
Taz is not. The only person he's threatened to fight was one of the Four Horsemen, Arn's partner.
Okay.
Who's now managing FTR.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good that they're handling.
Yeah, he's not doing it. So then I don't have a video of this, but if you watch to AEW, and the video will be on here later. I'm going to show Mike what happened. So then they had the Chris Jericho, MJF, who are the two super heels of this company. And MJF has been telling Chris Jericho that he wants to join his freaking merry band of idiots. They're not the Dark Order. That's the other group. The other group that's really ridiculous. Anyway,
and real quick with that, I love MJF.
He's an amazing heel.
And 10-second quick clip that he showed me of this obviously has got their thing going in on it, and this is probably going to make me hate MJF.
So MJF, and so I'll set up the scene. This is what I showed him already. MJF sits down for dinner. They're going to have this dinner extravaganza to discuss the terms of whether or not MJF is going to join Jericho's group.
And for some reason, it looks like they're trying to shoot it on the set of Between Two Ferns.
There's a reason. Just wait for it.
So I was making sure that was actually something.
So it starts off, they're ordering steak, and so Jericho or MJF's like, I'll have a steak, a baked potato, and I want it well done. And then Jericho's like, well, I want mine medium well. And then, well, I want mine
keep going
medium.
To the style of steak.
And then finally, Jericho asks for a piece of raw meat, essentially.
So this is the reaction part of the show that we're going to do, where Joey's going to show me this. Now, keep in mind, he wanted to convince me why AEW was great. Unfortunately, this was the content that they produced this week that he is going to present me with. So let's get a quick minute.
You're gonna be able to hear it.
So we're not going to show video,
but you're going to be able to hear it.
Just in case it's a yank it.
I mean, come on. Just picture it. Us. Together.
Like the wallpaper sticks to the wall.
Like the seashore clings to the sea.
Like you'll never get rid of your shadow. Chris, you'll never get rid of me.
Let all the others fight and fuss. Whatever happens, we've got us. Me.
We're closer than pages that stick in a book. We're closer than ripples that play in a brook. So wherever you'll find him, you'll
like
find
30
me.
more seconds.
Yeah.
Let me just skip a little further to just. So, quick question.
Because I'm picking up the audio, okay?
They're singing.
This is them singing.
Yes.
Holy crap, is there nothing MJF can't do? He's a better singer than Jericho.
Yeah, Jericho's got a band. So there's
Jericho sounds like shit here.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 dancing girls with top hats and little sequins. They are dancing in a ballroom.
If you've ever seen the opening of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, that's basically what they're wearing. MJF, I'm pretty certain, is wearing Indiana Jones's white suit. It looks like
There's a band right here.
there's a band in the background. It looks like they're on the set of The Tonight Show. I thought this was going to be much worse. Okay.
This is the big finale.
Say, Chris,
What is it, Maxwell?
would you do me a favor?
What do you want now?
Would you mind taking it one more time?
From the top?
No, from the ending.
Wonderful!
And while we are swinging, to mention a few, we'll drop in a Chili's and Young Bucks, screw you.
We'll beat up a Moxley, whatever we do.
Yeah, life is gonna be we want we. For my shadow and me.
So at that point,
Alright.
I look over I look at Dad, and I was like, Dad, I need to convince Mike that AEW is good. And his response is, I said, I'm supposed to defend this. And Dad says, you can't defend this. Just let Mike win.
You know what? Out of all of the terribleness for the segments and everything, I hate to say it, I enjoyed that.
What?
I actually, for this reason.
What?
Only for this reason. Okay, this is bad. This is really bad, okay? This is Kozlov and Santino Marella in England having tea, doing dancing. This is how bad this actually is, okay?
He liked it.
Jericho is as purple as a plum for some reason in this, which means he is going to have a stroke at some point, all right?
Right.
I like this simply because MJF is absolutely amazing in this. His face, his expressions, everything they're doing is great. As I said, he sounds better than Jericho singing. He's in time with the music when he dances. He looks like $1,000,000. This is actually it's so bad it's good.
Well,
It's so bad it's good, and it's only because of MJF. If this would have been Jericho and Moxley or Jericho and Omega or anybody else that works for that company, this would have been 5.5 minutes of hell. This is 5.5 minutes of purgatory. No.
all right. Well, I will.
So no, you did not convince me that AEW is an amazing thing that I need to continue to keep watching and not watch just the snippets of things like that. Also, they've hurt and messed up a lot of stuff recently, but
So tomorrow,
so good as MJF.
So tomorrow I will put this clip on our Facebook page. It's public domain, so I can.
I liked it, man. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I liked it. That was just
So-
because of MJF, man. He is so talented.
So this week in wrestling,
Don't ever go to WWE because they'll stifle your creativity, man.
yes.